It was a quiet afternoon in Davidtown, Nevada. 3 friends sat in a room trying to search for a new job since their old one at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was a total disaster. Quietly scrolling through his phone, DavidRafael785 found out his friend XF_Q owns a radio telescope observatory near the town they live in and is looking for people to hire. David says, guys, XF_Q is looking for someone to work at her observatory. Let's try and give her a call. After calling XF and signing up for the job, the 3 friends drove to the observatory. Lancer Does Game says, wait, 2 of my friends used to work here. It was a while back. DavidRafael785, busy parking the truck, says, they did? I had never known that they work here. Scrambledeggz1, in the back seat, says, why did they leave a job? Minimum wage? Maybe they could handle the job. Inside the main building, XF was waiting for them. When they finally greet her, XF tells them their job. She says, use the scanner first, then twist this knob here until that light flashes green. And, you know the rest. Bye. LOL. When she exits the place, Scrambled says, well, that wasn't so helpful. I forgot most of what she said. DavidRafael785 replies, me too. Lancer Does Games, do you know? Lancer Does Games was already at the desk, using the scanner. He replies, I played Signal Simulator before. I know how this stuff works. Lancer Does Games comes up with an idea. He says, Scrambledeggz1, you can monitor the servers right there and let David know when there's a server error. You can also fix the solar panels if David is busy. It'll also say which antenna has the error. David, you can fix the antennas and solar panels, and I will be here tracking and downloading signals. Scrambledeggz1 gives a thumbs up while David says, you know what, that's a good idea. I got us some walkie-talkies, so we'll be able to chat with each other from far away. When the sun begins to set, DavidRafael785 is already fixing one of the radio telescopes, twisting knobs, levers, and using the terminal inside to cool down and reboot the servers. Scramble decides it's best to go out and use an automated machine to clean the solar panels. Scrambled says over the radio, man, David, how's it going out there? David says, all good. Seems like we're all doing the toughest jobs. I think I finally got antenna number 7 to work. I'll be heading back inside. It's getting dark. Scrambled says, okay, but first I'll take a break out here and watch the sunset for a bit. DavidRafael785 and Lancer Does Games were chatting inside about how big Queso was. While Scrambled takes his last sip from his water bottle, he glances to the left and notices a black circular object hovering very far away, way past the gate. He says, guys, look out the bathroom window, and to the left, there's a black UFO and there's some weird blinking lights over. Lancer Does Games immediately springs up from bed, tells David to wait, and dashes outside. Lancer Does Games faces toward the UFO, raises his phone, and takes some pictures. Scrambled takes a golf cart and drives up to the gate. When he gets out, the UFO disappears. 2 days later, and Scrambledeggz1 wants to repair Antenna 8, while DavidRafael785 works on Antenna 5. Lancer Does Games agrees, but warns Scramble that although unlikely, at any moment he will end up inside that UFO he spotted earlier. A couple minutes later, David has finally closed the panel and says, I hope the others aren't this hard to fix. Suddenly, Lancer Does Games talks over the radio. Hey guys, I've got a decoded alien message. You guys might want to come see this. The friends rush in. David says, what is it? Scrambled says, I'm skeptical. Lancer Does Games shows a message that reads, soon. Lancer Does Games says, dude, what if the government finds out we're talking to aliens? We're so cooked. David's eyes widen, and Scrambled gives off a worried look towards DavidRafael785. DavidRafael785 says, oh no. Lancer Does Games says, already sent a signal to XF and told her to come ASAP. Minutes began to feel like hours as they waited for XF to arrive. Then nightfall came, and that's when stuff got real. A UFO parked outside past the fences surrounding the entire area. All 3 of the friends froze in place. Aliens began to come out and walk through the fence and toward the main building. David freaks out and says, "What deal we do? We're going to get abducted. I knew I should have brought backup." Scrambled starts to scream, and LancerDoesGames is left in total shock. LancerDoesGames eventually says, "Guys, calm down. If they were evil and here to attack us, they would have already done so. And plus, they already told us they were coming." David eventually calms down, but Scrambled screams at the top of his lungs as aliens come to the window. Before David could react, everything went black. Scrambled wakes up inside a metal room on a metal table. He looks around and sees an alien enter the room and put a strange rectangular device on top of him. Scrambled screams in terror. In a neighboring room is DavidRafael785, looking around, unable to move, and watching in pure horror as aliens put devices on and off of him. LancerDoesGames is in a room next to his, asking so many questions but getting no answers. As Scrambledeggz1 screams in terror as aliens experiment on him, the aliens in DavidRafael785's room left. DavidRafael785 could finally move, and he snuck over to one of the walls. He gasps as a strange holographic panel shows up in front of him. He presses a button, and it opens a window in the room. It's a one-way window to view Scrambled's room. David frantically presses another button. Eventually, an alien entered David's room, which catches DavidRafael785 off guard. The alien starts telepathically communicating to him, telling him they're trying to find out how Queso is so obese and how humans like him and the others aren't. David remembers a conversation with LancerDoesGames and says Queso is obese because he eats planets and galaxies on a daily basis. LancerDoesGames continues asking questions. When one enters a room and finally speaks to him, "I can answer all your questions. Follow me." LancerDoesGames walks past Scrambled's room and into a new room showing UFO blueprints, star maps, planet locations, and much more. LancerDoesGames audibly gasps and says, "Wow, this must take a lot of work. How long did this take?" The alien tells him it only took 2 Earth months to complete it. Scrambled, who was still in one of the rooms screaming, was put out of craft with DavidRafael785 and were brought inside the observatory. LancerDoesGames was still inside the spaceship learning knowledge from the aliens. LancerDoesGames says, "So Queso is in the center of the universe. No wonder he needs to go on a diet." LancerDoesGames eventually heads back inside, with all 3 of the friends losing the memories of being abducted, but not the knowledge gained from the aliens. The next day, Scramble complained of having nightmares of being abducted. David says, "One moment, we were looking at a computer, and next minute we were in bed." LancerDoesGames says, "That's no dream then. Scrambled. We've been abducted." XF eventually arrives in the afternoon and asks how's everyone doing. Scrambled says, "I've been having nightmares of being abducted. I also saw a UFO." David nods his head and says, "One minute we were in our office. The next we were in bed. I can't remember what happened. I think we were abducted." XF says, "I think you guys have gone crazy. I've also been told Scramble was driving toward the UFO. Is that true, LancerDoesGames?" LancerDoesGames nodded his head and said, "I've seen it too. Circular shape, black, red flashing lights. It's like that thing from Signal Simulator, but I guess more in a spherical shape." XF says, "I think you guys should look for another job for now, and don't tell anyone about your alien abduction last night. You know, there were 2 people who used to work here. They were JP21 and the pop star Mugaspor 138. They encountered a blue round UFO. It looked a lot like Queso. They said they almost got abducted." Eventually, the 3 friends left, and XF was hiring new people, someone named Jinxie and another named High Vice.